You're listening to
such a short amount of time to do it in.
a Mamamia podcast.
Hello and welcome to Cancelled. I am Clare Stevens, and on this podcast I tell the story of a celebrity or a TV show's cancellation from beginning to end.
I'm Jessie Stevens. I join you for the ride.
Yes. Because some celebrity crimes are worse than others, and this podcast is ultimately about justice, we enter into evidence all the transgressions, all the bad things, all the oopsies that people have done.
Daisy.
And we look at them. Jessie, you might be wondering who's on trial today.
Who's on trial?
Kyle Sandilands.
Oh, welcome, MTV.
Hello!
It's Cribs. Welcome to our crib. We'll bring you inside, but first, while you're out here, let's check out the weaponry in the garage.
Basically, I'd like to become the best person I can be, and this journey of singing that I've started on has really helped me do that.
Any good?
Getting there.
Because you look nice.
Thank you.
But usually, sometimes the better they look, the worse they sing. I just hope you're not one of them.
People have very strong feelings about King Kyle, either way. That he's horrible and shouldn't be on radio, or that he is funny and everyone should lighten up.
And this is what I want to say about funny Kyle, Claire. We have a friend that we went to school with. I don't know if we'd call him a friend, more an acquaintance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call him Justin. That's not his name, but it's got the same vibe as his name.
Okay.
His real name. He didn't have many opinions or perspectives, but every now and then he'd pipe up and he'd go, I just love Kyle. I love Kyle Sandilands. I like the Kyle and Jackie O show. And that was a cornerstone of his personality.
Yeah.
I, in this room today, will be Justin.
Okay.
I'm the big Kyle fan who doesn't know much about this world we live in, but we know that King Kyle is the North Star.
All right. Because I was going to say this is a courtroom. And I'm going to be the prosecution putting forward the case against Kyle. And Jessie, I am going to need you to be the defence. Because everyone deserves a fair trial, even King Kyle. That's how justice works. By the way, if anyone's wondering why we're calling him King Kyle, there's many reasons. One is that he refers to himself as King Kyle, and on the Kyle and Jackie O bus, he has a crown.
Okay.
And I think he's like production companies like King Kyle Production.
Yeah, I love that confidence.
Yeah.
He's a confident man. And then he did that show where he was the judge.
Trial by Kyle.
Trial by Kyle.
Welcome to the court of Kyle Sandilands.
Buckle up, gal.
This'll be fun.
And that was classic King Kyle energy.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to begin by just acknowledging a moment I had with Kyle Sandilands. Is that okay to put that on trial, Claire?
Yeah, I think you need to enter your bias.
Kyle comes into the office, right? And he did a no filter with Mia Friedman. Highly recommend you go and listen. She asked him some tough questions. And he came in afterwards and a bunch of us spoke to him.
And who interviewed him in front of the whole office?
You did.
I did. And I was terrified because I was so certain he was going to look at me and yell, you look like a toe.
Yes.
And I would have been like, Kyle.
This is why you get in trouble sometimes,
Yeah.
sweetie.
Yeah.
And it's because you maybe are not always kind to women. Anyway, he was actually quite lovely. And somehow he ended up with a copy of my book in his hands. Do you recall this?
And there's a photo of you.
Yes.
And him
Yes.
holding your book. And then he said that he wrote a book.
Oh, I think he did.
And it's called like
King Kyle.
Scandallands. That's what it's called. That's what it's called.
You should have read him. Oh my God, preparation. Anyway, then he goes, can you sign it? And I was like, King Kyle, of course I'll sign it. And then he hands me a pen and he goes, this is my $1 million pen. And I was like, Kyle, do you mean to say it cost you $1 million? And he said, no, I exclusively sign $1 million deals. And I went, I know why Justin likes you.
Yeah.
You're a funny knock-around bloke.
Yeah.
It was very funny. I gave him my book. What happened next? He is now in love with Tegan.
Yeah.
And they're having a baby.
Yes.
Coincidence? I think not.
Okay, because your book's about heartbreak and love.
Heartsick at all good bookshops.
Okay,
continue.
That was a very big aside. Kyle Dalton Sandilands is a 50-year-old Australian radio host who has been on air with his co-host Jackie O for nearly 20 years. He's also been a judge on Australian Idol, Australia's Got Talent, and X Factor, and a host of Big Brother.
And he was literally a judge on his show.
Yes, trial by Kyle. He's known for his many publicised clashes with other media personalities, controversial outbursts, and general persona as a shock jock who might just say something mean at any given time. He's been named the most hated Australian celebrity twice. So it's like Zoo magazine
Yeah.
did most hated celebrities, and he was number 1. And Joseph Fritzl, the man who like,
I think kidnapped a woman and kept her in his basement.
yeah, he was 3rd. Kyle was 1st.
That's everything wrong with our culture.
I know. But at the same time, Kyle and Jackie O have been Australia's biggest radio show for years and years. Last year, they broke a record with their highest percentage of audience share since they started. They're on the up.
Can I say, in preparation for this, I drove in this morning and I turned my radio station over to 106.5, which is where my good friends Kyle and Jackie O.
Okay, because I was going to say, firstly, I do want to enter into evidence the vibe of the show, so well done.
I listened to 15 minutes. 14 minutes were ads for CrimSafe. 14 minutes.
It's not Crim Safe unless it's
CrimSafe.
Yeah.
Lots of different types of ads for it.
Yeah.
Then Kyle did an ad. His heart wasn't entirely in it, as tends to happen. Then comes on Kyle and Jackie O, and I went, this is why they get paid the big bucks, right? It was a game. They said a word, like eyes, and then you had to sing a song with that in it, right?
Like Innocent Eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I went
That's
to.
really fun.
Okay. And Jackie would really try, and it was really funny.
Yeah.
The problem was Kyle was eating salami. Primo salami. I don't know if this was a sponsored segment, but if it was brilliantly done. And so Jackie said, did you want to start, Kyle? And he said, I can't. I'm eating salami.
Just, it's 8:30 in the morning.
It's 8:30 in the morning. You are paid $80,000 a minute.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm currently eating
I can't
primo
participate.
salami.
Okay.
It's like, okay. Oh, and then he just started getting really irritated at the producers because they kept playing what song it could have been.
Okay.
And he was like, this is boring. Then he was like, it's not loud enough. We're not in a taxi. It was just,
He
it
gets
was
really
quite
annoyed.
aggro.
Well, I was also going to share. On Monday mornings, I listen to Kyle and Jackie O. Don't ask why. So this Monday morning, they're having a chat. It's Kyle, Jackie, their producer Brooklyn, a woman they exclusively refer to as Palestine, another woman they refer to as Mayo, and everyone's got a nickname. They refer to no one by their actual name. They were nicknaming a new person this week, and I'm pretty sure it was racist. Jackie maybe tried to call it out. Anyway, it's time for Tradie vs. Lady. Now, that is a segment where they get a tradie and a lady to call in and they ask them questions. Whoever
Because a
wins,
tradie can't be a lady, right?
no, God, mutually exclusive categories. Whoever wins gets a random prize that I think is dependent on sponsors. So maybe like a hotel stay or something. When you call up, you have to provide certain bits of information about who you are.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
say your name.
Yeah.
You say your job. You
Tradie.
say your favourite sex position.
Okay.
And
Doggy.
you say reverse cowgirl, always the answer. And Carl's like, woo. And
it's like at 7 a.m.
yeah. And you say how much you weigh. Always.
Tradie and lady?
Yeah. The segment is so bad, and it's clear that A, the callers are Googling. So they ask a question, the caller's silent for 10 seconds, and then they get the answer, and they're like, wow. And I'm
You
like,
knew the capital of Kazakhstan.
yeah.
No, they're on
they
Google.
didn't. And they didn't have any thought process. They just somehow knew the answer suddenly at 8 seconds in. Also, Kyle and Jackie O / the producers aren't ever certain of the answers. So whoever does the research often has the wrong answer. So the person answers and Kyle's like, that's right. And Jackie's like, no, it's not. That's the wrong answer.
No, she goes, no, it's not, Kyle. It's not right. Oh, Jackie. And then so on. That's why I love it so much.
The tradies always win. And then they play a song called Yeah, the Boys.
Okay.
Every single Monday.
And that is why Justin loves it. It's the simple things.
Exactly. And that is the current vibe. So let's go back in time and start at the beginning of King Kyle being a little bit problematic.
Okay.
Australian Idol. Jessie, you might remember that Kyle...
Anthony Kalia. Yes, I do.
Okay, that wasn't the question, but he was a judge on Australian Idol.
Which is interesting, given he has no real musical background. Yes, he's on radio, but he's never expressed much interest in music.
Much passion
Yeah.
in music. I was going to say he's a radio presenter, but yeah, he doesn't know anything about musical talent.
No.
At all. He had opinions, and to be honest, people did like him because he was brutal when people were bad.
That's good for me. I'll make a confession about sexual healing.
Okay.
The last two sentences I did not think were completely right, but before that I was quite happy.
I think it was more about healing than sexual. Our healing.
I'm glad I made you feel better.
No sexuality there at all. There's no sexuality. Marsha, do you feel any sexuality?
Do you have any advice to improve my singing?
I would suggest that you do not do the singing outside in front of anybody like that, because it is
Why?
terrible.
But I get money.
It's pity money.
And
I always like that, Judge. I think it's meaner to be kind to
Okay.
the people who really, really can't sing.
like Marsha.
Yeah, I think it is meaner.
So sometimes he was brutal. He was so
But
mean.
Sometimes he was really kind.
Okay. He was every now and then. But he was also really cruel. In 2005, he told Kate DeRouge, who ended up winning, that she needed to work on her tuck shop lady arms if she wanted her career to take off. At the beginning of the next season, in 2006, he openly admitted he would be grilling contestants on their weight, but interestingly, just women. So he said, people for some reason think I don't like women that are overweight. Maybe because you keep criticising them on the television, Kyle. But I want everyone to be the best they can be, and if they're fat, then I say to them they should lose weight. Kyle.
It's very hard for me to defend that.
That year...
And he does. It's women.
It's us.
It's women.
Exclusively women. That year, he told Jessica Mauboy to lose her jelly belly. She was 17 years old. Victoria's Youth Affairs Minister at the time, Jacinta Allen, said Sandilands had sent a message to millions of young viewers dreaming of a career in the music industry, don't bother if you're not stick thin. She called it an assault on young people's self-esteem, which I think is a bloody good way to put it. The following year, Kyle referred to a contestant using a derogatory slang term that I won't repeat, but that can be used to refer to people with Down syndrome. And he got in lots of trouble and he ended up apologising. It was really mean to that contestant and really mean to everybody who has Down syndrome or knows somebody who has Down syndrome.
Okay, in my terrible attempt at providing a defence, did you say this was in the early thousands?
It was 2005 to 2009.
Okay, may I enter into evidence every other episode of this show we have done, which shows that fat phobia was the vibe?
Okay.
So from Dr. Phil to Super Size vs. Super Skinny, if you were around in the early 2000s, you were yelling that people were fat. That was just part of being a public person.
That doesn't make it okay. Next, there were screwed up stories live on air. So in 2007, Kyle and Jackie O was inundated with complaints after they allowed a caller to confront his dad live on air after he had caught him performing a sex act on another man. When asked about this on Enough Rope with Andrew Denton, Kyle said he didn't consider the ramifications of airing the call. So basically what happened was this kid, teenager, calls his dad, confronts him, and outs his dad on air, on radio.
Who let that happen, though? Because that is not just King Kyle.
Well,
That's a whole production team.
on Enough Rope, Kyle said the producers will come and say, this guy's contacted the show. This is the situation with his dad. It's been 2 weeks. His dad hasn't told his mother. He doesn't know what to do. Boom, he's on. This is real life. This happens out there. So, you know, we don't go out looking for it. They come. That's Kyle's defense.
Okay.
I think that's unacceptable. And I think Kyle has a little bit of power in that situation to maybe say, I don't think it's my job as a shock jock to deal with these things in your family. And I shan't be outing a man.
And also to play an instrumental role in breaking your family.
yeah.
May
not my
I
job.
suggest Dr. Phil?
Yes. Or an actual psychologist.
Yes, true.
Moving on to celebrity feuds. If you know anything about Kyle, you know that
He's very good friends with Lara Bingle. Yes.
Okay. But he also has feuds with everyone, particularly local celebrities. If you listen to the show for 5 minutes in the morning, you'll hear him go on a rant about someone he doesn't like.
Yes, which is often a direct competitor.
And it's often Will Anderson, to be honest. It's often directly at Will Anderson. That's his latest one because Will Anderson said he didn't want Kyle on his podcast and he's lost it at Will.
That's why I, as Justin, love him because he tells it like it is.
Okay.
You never know what he's going to say. He's surprising. And you go, Willie, won't he like this person? For example, Lara Bingle. Oh, loves her.
Yeah.
How about John Ibrahim?
Loves him. Best friends.
Best mate in the world. Is he considered by police in New South Wales as the most major organised crime figure?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is he also King Kyle's best mate? Yes. Really good friends.
I think that's damning. To be honest, I'd like that on my side. But Kyle craps on celebrities seemingly for no reason.
There was one. He was on a red carpet and he came across Pierce Brosnan and he didn't really know what to say because I don't think Kyle preps, which is probably another thing we should get on the record. But he goes to Pierce Brosnan, don't you think it's weird there's never been an Australian James Bond? And apparently Pierce Brosnan was like, oh, there actually has. And he went back to no one gives a shit, but someone like back in the 60s or something. And Kyle was like, this is boring. And then
no one cares.
And no one cares. And now on the radio all the time, it's like, I hate Pierce Brosnan.
And it's like, well, don't ask the question. You asked the question. And Pierce answered.
And
now
you were
you're
wrong
upset.
because you didn't do any prep.
No.
He
Like,
also
work
hung up on
harder.
Victoria Beckham.
Yeah.
And he also hates Matt LeBlanc.
Okay, yeah, he hates Matt LeBlanc.
Because he says, how you doing isn't a personality.
All right, well, let's take it to some locals. Rove.
Yes, a man just appeared right in front of us.
And then the hand comes screaming through, like, to shake my hand.
Yeah.
Good luck on the TV show, mate. And of being the man of the people that I am, I turned around and went, yeah. And I reached out my hand to shake the hand of the person, and I'm shake. Then I'm looking at the person's face, and it's Rove McManus. I almost died. I thought, what the effing hell? Why are you here? And why am I shaking your dog hand?
And then I was like, hey, and I gave him a hug. And
I thought you rat.
Hang on. So you guys good?
No.
That felt like breaking bread. That felt
it
good.
did, didn't it?
It did feel good, Jack.
I felt like it was a little bit of a start.
Well, look, he did extend the hand first.
He
So,
did.
But you shook it. You shook it.
I did shake it,
Yeah.
but I've also shake my own penis every time I have a piss as well.
With that
so
hand.
shaking something with that hand, and let me tell you, I didn't wash it this morning after I shook it.
Carl doesn't like Rove.
Why?
He says, everyone thinks he's cookies and cream when he's a little prick. He's a little asshole. I let bygones be bygones because his wife passed away. And I thought, you came in here, you used us, you pretended that you were sorry. What happened was that Rove, when Kyle was with his first wife, Tamara, Rove made a joke on his show about Kyle pushing Tamara's music.
Yes.
On his show. And Kyle got really upset.
Because Kyle met Tamara on Pop Stars.
Yeah.
Where he was a judge, correct?
Correct.
And that's where he met Sophie Monk, longtime best friend.
So a few years ago, Rove called into the show where they had a segment called Celebrity Bounty Hunter, where Kyle paid money to his enemy's charity if they came on the show.
That's brilliant
It's
radio.
great
And this
content.
is what's great about Kyle, right? Is that he will say, I hate Rove, hate everything about him. The next day he might feel differently. And he'll say that. He's often just in a mood.
Yes. So Rove called up and he was like, hey, Kyle, I'm calling up, but I'm really scared because I think you're setting me up. I think you're just going to unleash. And Kyle was like, no, I'm fine. Well, you've said really cruel things on the record. Millsy. Kyle threw tuna in Millsy's face.
Why?
I don't know if it was a segment, but Millsy's upset about it. And so he told Nova, they threw a tuna fish pie in my face. It was gross. And I refused to do their show. I've not been on the show since because I hate them.
Okay.
And Kyle doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. He thinks Millsy is a weakling. He doesn't like him. Magda Zabansky.
Tonight, I'll be eating pesto gnocchi and garlic bread to keep me carbed up.
Kyle suggested that Magda could become skinny if she was in a concentration camp.
Isn't Magda Jewish?
Mm-hmm.
So I think she had relatives die in the Holocaust?
Yep. What the hell, Kyle? He was temporarily suspended from Today FM for that one.
He's been temporarily suspended quite a few
Many times.
I wonder if a lot of this has to do with getting up too early. And this is something that I, as Justin, will put on the record.
All right.
This man has been getting up at God knows what time. I mean, he's often late. So let's say 4:30 to get in at 5 or something. He doesn't need to have his makeup done. As I said, he's often late or doesn't come, which I'm sure will come up. His absences. He has a lot of time off work. The man's tired. He's cranky.
I don't think he is the sort of person who'd be going to bed early the night before.
I think he said that.
Okay.
And I think he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed a lot. He is relying on stimulants such as coffee and Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
If that were me, I'd say some regrettable stuff. I'd be feuding with Rove. I would.
All right.
Because I'm tired.
Okay. Moving on. Meghan Markle's half-sister Samantha Grant.
I would like to start. Wait, does he not like her?
God, no.
Okay, same.
So she was on the radio show talking about her book. Remember she wrote a book?
Yeah, which was like, I hate Meghan Markle.
Yes.
She's a bitch, yeah.
And Kyle said, why didn't you call the book My Boring Life? Why'd you bring your sister into it? Ugh. See you later. You sound like such a bore. I'm not interested. Don't use your sister's name to trick media organisations into pushing your shit book. You're gone. See ya. What a loser. And then he hung up.
I mean, love that. The problem is that often it is women who he speaks to like that and hangs up on.
Yeah.
But also Rove.
No,
So
yeah.
there's some equality there.
Great. Then there's David Campbell. I'd just like to say that with all of these feuds, there's always a context that begins with Kyle doing the wrong thing. And then he starts a feud with somebody else for pulling him up on it. So in 2011, Kyle...
Didn't David Campbell say that one of his kids had come back as Diana or something?
Yeah, he says that one of his kids thinks that Princess Diana reincarnated.
That was a headline.
That's a separate story. We should talk about that at another time. In 2011, Kyle called a female journalist a fat slag. And that's because she didn't like his TV show. She left a bad review on something he had done. And David Campbell criticised him for using such horrible words against a woman who had aired an opinion. Kyle got mad. He told News.com that Campbell was a dog and a peasant before adding, that cock breath, I can't stand him.
Oh.
As soon as he had a chance to have a little whinge during one of my many fuck-ups of life, he was one of the ones to first sink the boot in, as many people did.
Justin loves his creative use of insults,
Yeah.
such as peasant
Yeah.
and cock breath.
And I always find it interesting that Kyle seems to be so sensitive, given the insults he administers to other people. Then we've got Dave Hughes.
Oh, I wanted to bring up Dave Hughes. He hates Dave Hughes.
Dave Hughes hosted the Logies in 2007. He used Kyle as a punchline, calling him a massive dickhead. That would have got a laugh. In Dave Hughes' defence.
David Campbell would have loved that.
Everyone
standing ovation.
Everyone in the
Millsy
room
said, take my Logie. He just loved it.
Kyle said on his show, I don't care if I go to jail for 3 months. That guy needs a punch in the throat. Simple. I hate him. The next time I see him, I'm going to punch him in the throat.
So much like a threat.
Kyle.
It sounds so much like a threat.
In that it is. Maddie J.
Apparently Dave Hughes is genuinely terrified of Kyle.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to run into him.
I think they ran into each other at an airport and Dave said, I'm so sorry, I'm just really scared you're going to punch me in the throat. And Kyle was like, don't be silly.
Sorry. It's the fact that you stated it on radio over and over again. Kyle hated Maddie J on The Bachelor.
Okay.
He called him a fame whore, a liar, and a dud. He said Maddie was a flawed character and a wet hanky who can't get a girlfriend without being on a TV show.
Okay.
Before telling co-host Jackie he wanted him on the show so I can bitch slap him. He also said Maddie had a sort of got cancer look.
How does he think of these things? And this is the thing about King Kyle. He doesn't like it when other people get popular.
No.
But everyone loved Maddie J, and it's like he could see that the career was going up. And he does this with like radio competitors. I remember I don't think he liked
anyone. Ambrosiano, Whipper.
Yes.
Fitzy. Anybody who has a competitive radio show.
When he was in here, he was like, I hate podcasts. I hate them.
Yes.
They have no vibe.
Yeah.
Because on his, he can kind of say something like tradie versus lady, and then it's like, bad habits lead to late nights. And then it's like Ed Sheeran, and you can just see that Kyle's like, see, this has a vibe.
Yeah.
And then someone in his entourage said, Kyle, you're on a podcast. We do a podcast of your show every day.
In fact, it's one of the country's biggest podcasts.
And Kyle said, I like that. Yeah. I like that podcast. And he did, in the moment, change his mind about podcasting.
I take that back.
I like that. We are, of course, in the same charts as Kyle and Jackie O.
It does hurt to be beaten by a podcast that doesn't even know it's a podcast.
And hates itself
Yeah.
in that medium as a podcast. But we should also say, just get on the front foot as opposed to the back foot. Because we're competitors of Kyle, he might see. he might want to punch us in the throat.
Yeah.
Love you, Kyle. Please don't.
Okay. I disagree with the last sentence that you said. But I would like to say, in terms of celebrity feuds, when you listen to Kyle and Jackie O, often they've got the reality stars kind of coming on the show or whatever.
Oh, he's not got a lot of time for them.
I've never heard somebody who gets on radio and goes, I want this person on the show. Can we get that person? Can we get them? Okay. Could you have planned this before the show?
No, I like the workshopping live on air.
Spontaneity.
Yeah. Because you know that chances are that, Andrew from Maths is just listening.
Yeah.
He's just at home. So then instead of getting your PR to go out to blah, Andrew just calls in, hey, Kyle, what's up? I hated you on the show. Sorry, Kyle.
And then Kyle gets really upset if he wants someone on the show and the person's busy. He gets really angry.
Like, what else do you have to do? There was one person who made him wait.
I think it was Dean Wells.
It was Dean Wells.
Yeah.
Made him wait because he was on another interview and Kyle was like, I'm king fucking Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, where did you have to be?
Where
He's
have you
probably on the phone to Mamamia.
Yeah. Final piece of evidence I'm going to submit into the courtroom. One of the worst things Kyle's ever done. Mm-hmm. In 2009, Kyle and Jackie O have a lie detector segment. Speaking of things you cancel along the way, don't have a lie detector segment is never going to end well with real people.
That was very 2009.
Everyone loved a lie detector.
We've really moved on from the lie
It's
detector.
because they don't work. Yeah, we've got no evidence
I think
that
it was
they
a
work.
new technology
Yeah.
and it was really fun because it was like, what's it going to say? You can ask someone anything. What's it going to say?
And people would say, oh, that's not true. It's saying I'm lying and I'm not. And it was
always like, are they just nervous?
Yeah, it caused chaos.
Or can they trick a lie detector test? There was so much tension in it.
I know. That was a time. Anywho, a mum drags her 14-year-old daughter onto radio to undergo the lie detector test.
People we cancel along the way.
The mum is concerned about her daughter's drug use and sexual behaviour.
Again, get on Dr. Phil. I don't know why we're going to Dr. Kyle.
At the beginning, before they'd started with the questions, the girl said, I'm scared, it's not fair. This is terrible parenting. The mother asked about partying and if her daughter had ever skipped school before asking, have you ever had sex?
On the radio.
On the radio, asking her 14. She's underage, legally, ethically, spiritually. She's underage. The 14-year-old said, I've already told you the story about this and don't look at me and smile because it's not funny. There was then a pause. Nobody said anything. And she said, oh, okay, I got raped when I was 12 years old. There was a pause.
Speaking of people in Australia who are ill-equipped to deal with such a revelation, Kyle Sandilands would be top 5.
There was a pause and then Kyle did perhaps the worst thing you could do in that moment and asked, right, is that the only experience you've had? Jessie, that's not an experience.
No. And I remember at the time, the reason why it was so upsetting to survivors of any sort of sexual violence was because it was the implicit assumption Kyle had that was a sexual experience. Oh, okay, so you have had a sexual experience. Well, no, we're not going to call rape a sexual experience because it's criminal and it's an act of violence. Kyle didn't understand that.
No. And he did not ask, for example, are you okay?
No. Or let's pull the plug.
I'm sorry you brought this up on radio. Yes. That seems inappropriate for this conversation. The girl's mum interrupted, saying she'd only learnt of the rape a couple of months ago. And I've got in my notes, what the fuck? Why did you ask the question then when she's strapped to a lie detector? Sorry you only learned about it a couple of months ago, but you knew when you asked. Jackie O then said they dropped the lie detector segment because they were unaware of the rape incident. And Jessie, we've talked on this show before about co-hosting dynamics where you've got a man who can be described as a buffoon and a woman
who tap dances in
the corner trying to fix the problems.
Yeah.
And in this situation, Jackie was like,
tap danced her little ankles off.
Yeah. And Kyle's like, had any other experiences?
And that is Jackie O in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The woman can tap dance.
Yeah.
Even this morning. Kyle's got a mouthful of salami.
Okay, well, I've got to speak.
Yes. And the other day, I'm sure we'll get to it, Kyle walked out of the job.
She had to finish the radio show by herself.
And that I just think happens often.
Yeah.
She has a rotating cast
of
male hosts because sometimes Kyle's ill.
Yes.
Or he doesn't want to come to work today.
So she got tap danced.
So Jackie tap dances and she says, look over here, don't look at this buffoon.
Yeah.
He's crossed a line. He likes to toe that line and in fact, that's why so many people listen to us. But when he trips over it, things go bad quick.
Yeah, they go real bad.
And that was not a good moment for anyone. Even as Justin, it is very difficult to defend.
Okay.
What I will say as Justin is that, did Kyle apologise?
Yes.
Okay, Kyle apologised because he's a knockabout Aussie bloke. He apologised. He had a whole team of people who probably should have helped him in that situation. He didn't know what to say. He is not qualified in helping people in such instances, which is why you go on Dr. Phil instead. And that changed the direction of the show. No more lie detector tests.
Okay, did it change the direction of
Yes.
the show? We got Tradie versus
Much
Lady.
more community-minded now. Tradie versus Lady, you just got good, honest Aussies getting prizes, you know?
Yeah, the boys plays really loud.
Yeah, the boys. I'm in the car going, yeah, the boys. Yeah, the boys.
Oh, sorry, that's how the song goes.
It's become more, I think, community-focused in a lot of ways. It's about giving back. Remember when Kyle was like, get vaxxed, baby? I think he was a baby.
All right, stop. Vaccinate and listen. We are back with a brand new injection. Someone grabbed a hold of you tightly, rolled up your sleeves with a daily or nightly. Will this ever stop? Yo, we don't know. But stuck in lockdown really blows. Too many people think vax is a scandal. Take 2 shots and COVID's handle.
He does good things. What I hear as Justin when I turn the radio on from 6 till 9 every day, don't ask how I manage to fit in 3 hours of Kyle and Jackie O a day, but I do, is I hear a man giving away a lot of money to people who are struggling. Single mothers. Very community-minded. He finds vulnerable people in the community and he helps out. Is he sometimes rude to them in the process? Yes. Yes. Does he ask their weight? Sometimes.
Does he ask their favourite sex position?
Yes. Which is always interesting and surprising. We don't talk about that enough as a culture.
Oh, my God.
What's Kyle's favourite? Reverse cowgirl. Right?
Yeah. Oh, that's the one he gets the most excited about when people say. So that's fun.
Okay.
There was a lot of backlash to this moment on radio, and Kyle was dropped from Australian Idol. So we've come full circle. We started with him being awful on Australian Idol. We're ending with he was dropped from it.
Well, I'm going to throw in another defence.
What?
Can you even name who won season 7 of Australian Idol, which was season 7 was last season? I rest my case.
Who won?
Stan Walker. It just was not the best.
Stan Walker's great.
Stan Walker is great. I am not saying Stan Walker's not great. What I'm saying is that you did not watch that season.
I didn't watch that season.
We know him because he is talented.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that.
I guess he succeeded in spite of the show
Australian Idol.
rather than because of it.
It wasn't Guy Sebastian Idol.
Okay.
That was iconic Idol.
Jessie, that's all we've got time for on Cancelled today.
Yep.
Sometimes courts go into recess. We have recess now. We have done a lot of work.
Does that mean we get like
Biscuits.
Jats with Vegemite on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week, we're going to keep looking at Kyle, starting with the biggest controversy of his career and the closest he's come to actually being cancelled. And yeah, we'll do charges and sentences.
Are we going to talk about his absences?
We'll get to that.
Are we going to talk about how much Coca-Cola he drinks?
Yep, that's part of the miscellaneous
Oh,
section.
can I put something else in that I read?
What?
When he was on Australian Idol, he employed a woman to go through Alan's snakes, lollies, and put all the orange ones in a bowl because they were his favourite, and the others made him cough. And you know what I thought when I read it? That is a man creating, it's called job creation.
Okay. I think it's also known as demeaning.
No, it is not. Because he was going to cough if he had a blue one. And so he put all the others elsewhere.
That's ridiculous. We're going to hold our charges and sentences until this case has fully been put into the courtroom. Because you got to wait for all the evidence. That's how it works. And Kyle would want us to have a break.
He would.
He wouldn't want us to work too hard.
And that's what I love about Kyle.
We would love if you could submit your charges and sentences.
Halftime
charges and sentences on the Twins Thoughts Instagram page. We would love to know them as references for the second half of our court case.
Sometimes what you do in a courtroom is you crowdsource charges and sentences just to get a vibe check.
You do.
And that's what we want to do.
We'll also, as always, be putting the evidence for this case on the Twins Thoughts Instagram page.
This podcast was produced by Rose Kerr, and the head of podcast at Mamamia is Eliza Ratliff. We will chat to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Nobody speaks to me like Mamamia.